So you're considering making that move to Michigan, and you're probably wondering, what is it going to cost me to live in Michigan? Is it going to be more or is it going to be less than where I'm at today? Well, in this video, I'm covering just that. We're going to go over a lot of the major expenses that you have, from housing to taxes to healthcare and all the above. Hey, if we're meeting here for the first time, my name is Eric Meldrum. I'm a realtor with True Living Group. And in today's video, we're covering the cost of living here in Michigan 2024 edition. So if you like this video, give that thumbs up, a little click, and subscribe and tap that little bell so you're the first to learn about all things living in Michigan. All right, so first up, we're going to take a look at what it's going to cost you to buy that home here in Michigan. Michigan is the 5th least expensive state in the whole entire United States for a housing cost. But you got to keep in mind, most of the state is rural, just a lot of trees, a lot of farmland. A lot of the activity happens in the lower part of the state. You know, if you look at like Grand Rapids and Flint below, if you draw a line from Grand Rapids and Flint all the way across the state, which is like right here and below, this is where a lot of the population lives. Okay, there's a lot of population in like Traverse City area up here, but for the most part, the rest of the state is just little small towns, you know. So when we look at the cost or average cost of a home here in Michigan, that's going to run you right around $291,000. Now, the average cost of the home, just for comparison, in the United States is right around $420,000. So you can see it's below the average across all of the United States. You may think it's going to be cheaper just from that stat alone, but if you're living here in Southeast Michigan, as we call it, those prices can go upwards. Okay, so if you're looking at Ann Arbor, Brighton, West Bloomfield, average cost of a home in Ann Arbor is going to run you $525,000. Brighton's going to cost you around $480,000. West Bloomfield is going to run you right around $600,000. So those costs can go up, you know, depending on the location that you're getting into. But just using that as a rule of thumb, like those $300,000 homes are still available in a lot of those areas. They just might need some work, might need some TLC, and they might be on the smaller side, you know, 2-bedroom, 1,100 square feet, something like that, but they still do exist. So if you're going for the average here in Michigan of $291,000, what that's going to cost you from a monthly perspective, with taxes and insurance, and assuming you're putting a 20% down payment down, it's going to run you $2,000 a month on average. And the next expense on our list is the grocery expense. Now, if you've been looking at your grocery bill like I have, you might have noticed it's gone up quite a bit. You know, I was just in the grocery store a couple weeks ago and I picked up an apple. I looked at the cost per pound and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna grab this apple for lunch. And I went to the register, they weighed it, and that apple was like $3. I took that apple and put it right back and said, I will be getting something else. Mind you, this was like a grab and go, kind of more organic grocery store here in Brighton called Simply Fresh. I'm not knocking them. They got some great produce in there, great stuff, but I just have a hard time paying $3 for an apple. When it comes to the grocery bill, will you be spending more or less compared to where you're at today? And I've talked to a lot of people, grocery bills around the whole entire United States, like unless you're living in Hawaii, they're pretty even across the board. We pay on average around $2,000 per month. We're a family of 4. $2,000 gets us all of our essentials, right? Gets us our meat, our produce, snacks for the kids, and trust me, those kids, they eat a lot. Some people might think like that's a high amount, but really look at the stuff that we're buying. We're buying organic, we're buying grass-fed beef. I will go above and beyond for good quality food. And some of our friends pay more, some of our friends pay less. And I think right around like $1,000 to $1,500 is where I see a lot of people budgeting for food on a monthly basis. You know, at the end of the day, those are choices you need to make. You can obviously buy, you know, cheaper things at the grocery store and live on rice and beans, as Dave Ramsey says, but who wants to be eating rice and beans every single day? And next up on the list are utilities. So this is going to include your gas, electric. You're also going to be including phone and water and sewer if applicable. And then we're also going to include the price of gasoline here in Michigan as of shooting this video. So in terms of your gas and electric, this is going to fluctuate because we are a 4-season state, but if you average that out throughout the 12 months, you're right around $200 to $250 per month for gas and electric. And that's using using the median size home, which would be right around 1,600 to 2,000 square feet. Obviously if you have a much larger home, you're going to be paying more, but some of the other expenses that you'll have are phone. We pay roughly $120 per month for phones, right? And they're paid off. So there is no payment plan for the phones included in that service. We have Verizon, which I think is the best coverage, here in Michigan. And then for water and sewer, if you look at the averages across the 12 months, right around $75 per month. And water typically bills quarterly here in Michigan. And then as of shooting this video, the price of gas is roughly $3.90 per gallon. Okay. And that fluctuates. So there's some apps that you can actually use to track like, hey, where's the cheapest gas? And they'll tell you. On average, I see it at $3.90. Sometimes it's lower, but if you get the Kroger membership, you're always getting points off. I love seeing it when I put my card in. It's like, hey, you have fuel points. And I'm like, oh, great. I can get 30 cents off a gallon. I'm going to use that. Go ahead. So next up is the healthcare. Now, healthcare is one of those topics that I'll be honest with you. I really struggle with the healthcare. Seeing what we pay for healthcare and what we get coverage for, and then we still get bills, after those doctor visits, it hurts my head. You have so many different options. You can get on a great plan, which could cost you anywhere from $1,200 a month to $2,000 a month. And I was just like, that's absolutely insane. And it didn't even cover everything. Now, Michigan in general is supposed to have some affordable healthcare. I've never looked at healthcare outside of Michigan, but when I was working a W-2 job, I was paying roughly $400 every 2 weeks. Okay, so just call it $800 per month for me and my family of 4. And that was considered a pretty good plan. That was through Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so when I came off that healthcare plan and went on my own, I got quoted roughly $1,500 for me and my family of 4. And we had to make some decisions. Got a great plan with an HSA, covers all the basics, covers incidentals. It's kind of a catastrophic plan as a health sharing plan, but we still pay $800 a month. $260 of that is actually going into my HSA that we can use to cover doctor visits that are outside of our wellness checkups, prescriptions, dental visits for that. Overall, Michigan has been ranked an affordable place for healthcare. We do have some of the best healthcare around. University of Michigan's here, and a lot of the hospitals rank very highly for healthcare. And next, we're going to take a look at property taxes here in Michigan. Now, every city is going to vary, and this is because every city has different services. If a city needs to, buy all new police cars and they need to update the building or, do something major, you may see in your local municipality on the ballot when it's time to vote, you may see things go up, right? Or there's a vote for a higher millage to increase property taxes for everybody that lives in that area because they're going to be using those services. On average for Michigan, you could expect to pay 1.38%, of your home value in property taxes. Now, using a couple of examples, if you were to look at the average cost of a home here in Michigan of $291,000, that would equate to around $4,015 for your property taxes. Detroit has a notoriously high property tax, but the homes cost less. But you can get into Ann Arbor, Birmingham, and those property taxes can really put a dent in your monthly budget if you're looking and budgeting for a home. I know a lot of people who, come to us and say, hey, I want to live in Ann Arbor. And then they start looking at property taxes and like, well, I might actually be a little bit better off on the outskirts of Ann Arbor in the townships, getting a lower tax and just commuting into work. All right. So it's all about lifestyle. It's all about your budget, all about things. And that's really what this is. Give you a good perspective on how to navigate some of those things and know there are options. All right. And lastly, we're going to take a look at what all of these expenses are going to cost you on a monthly basis. We're going to sum them up and then take a look at your housing cost. We're going to use kind of an example of buying an average home here in the United States. I'm going to use the $400,000 price point. All right. So we're going to sum up your bills and utilities, which is going to be your gas, electric, cable, internet, and your phone. And this is going to run you roughly $470 per month. Next is the cost of your vehicles, and this might be higher or lower depending on if you have one car, two cars, or no cars altogether. But I'm going to use $750 for 2 vehicles and $200 for the cost of insurance on those vehicles. Now, the cost of your groceries, we're going to use my budget of $2,000 per month, as well as healthcare coming in at $800 per month. And then we're going to take a $400,000 house and include taxes and insurance. And then assuming we put 20% down, our monthly payment is going to be $2,779 per month. All right, so our grand total on a monthly expenses for just the bare essentials is $7,451 per month. A lot of financial advisors will tell you that you should not be paying more than 30% of your monthly income towards a house. Okay, so if we use this home and we say that $2,779 per month on an annual basis, we need to be making $111,000 per year just to afford the home and these expenses. That's not including all of the other things that you're thinking in your mind right now. You're like, man, he didn't talk about going out to eat. He didn't talk about putting into savings or investments, or what happens when I need to replace something on my home or my car, or just those incidentals, including student debt, right? I haven't talked about any of those things. This is just the cost of your bare essentials in Michigan using some averages. All right, so hopefully you guys can start doing the math on what your budget looks like. Add in those things that I elected to keep out on purpose. I don't know what all your circumstances are, but one thing I do know is we are helping people just like you make this move every single day. And I know this information is helpful. I know it was helpful for somebody out there who was considering making this move. So I'm gonna keep making this content, but what I want you to do is go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Tap that little bell so you're the first to learn about all things living in Michigan. And if you're ready to get started on your move here to Michigan, go ahead and book that Zoom call, and I look forward to seeing you there. And until then, go check out these other videos about all things Michigan, and we'll catch you on the next one.